wanted to talk about soul contract today, but really in a very simplified way, not to make it overcomplicated. We're probably gonna turn this into a series, but I wanted to make a nice little introduction into soul contract, what they really mean, and why you feel so connected to certain people. All right. So, you know how sometimes you meet people and you feel like you've seen them or you connected to them in another lifetime, or just you just feel this intense pull. Okay, so I just wanted to say this episode today is gonna be just based on my personal experience, and I'm not presenting myself here as a know all be all guru. And this is a problem I have in the spiritual realm where, I find that people tend to be really, there might be some ego war, and this is not my intention with this episode. I want to make it really grounding, and at the same time understanding that I actually spend a lot of time studying spirituality in all sorts of, shape or form, and I am a student of life, I'm a student of spirituality, and so I wanted to share my opinion today on soul contracts. But like I said, I have a feeling this is going to be a bit of a series. So, what is a soul contract from a spiritual perspective? So, a lot of people would feel deeply connected and challenged by certain relationship. And this could really help you understand why. So, we're going to approach this from like curiosity, like I said, groundedness, one of my favorite words. I like to make the woo woo really tangible and grounded. Okay. So, what are soul contracts? They're pretty much agreements made on a soul level before this lifetime. Now, if you are hearing this for the first time, you're like, Steph, what are you talking about? So, it's like this okay, pretty much, let me start from the beginning. We are souls having a human experience. Okay, so what that means is there's a lot of things that happen on a soul level, spiritual level, and then the soul comes, it integrates the body that you have right now today in this lifetime. And you might be like, yeah, but Steph, why? What's the point of all this? Okay, this is gonna be another episode for another day. But pretty much, the same way we're doing soul work and shadow work, well, it's the same thing for your soul. Your soul also has some shadow work, some quote unquote soul work that they are trying to do also. That's why they come into this world, they embody physical shape, and so they can work on themselves as well. Why? For the purpose of evolving into the next, into like a better version of themselves. So technically, it's amazing when you think about it. Everything is a mirror image, like the same way we all are so obsessed with like self improvement here. On earth, it's kind of the same thing. Like the soul is also trying to improve and work on their own soul, also in past life trauma, past life, baggages and all that stuff. Now, we will go deeper into this. I'm still figuring out how I want to merge all of this spirituality talk into the podcast. But for now, let's just focus on soul contract. Now, again, like I said, the purpose is for growth, healing, and expansion, but on a deep soul level. I know at first, if it's the first time you're hearing this, you're like, oh my God, what is she smoking? I know this can feel absolutely absurd, but honestly, once you really start digesting and accepting and understanding this, I don't think our mind can fully grasp this realm, but I feel like we're having a collective awakening as a whole. People are becoming more open to this type of talk. Probably like 10 years ago, I would have a conversation like this. People would probably lock me up in an asylum. You know what I mean? But today, we've come a long way. Like people are really receptive to spirituality talk, and then seeing spirituality beyond the lens of religion, and just really seeing it as this great energy that is connecting all of us, this great energy of light. So, what are soul contract? They're often connected to karmic cycles, lesson, and emotional evolution. Like I said, your soul comes here to learn a lot of things, to expand the same way that we are also trying to expand on this 3D physical world. Signs let's talk about some signs that you might have some soul contract with someone. Sometimes you meet someone and you'll find you have an instant connection. It might be your bestie, it might be your partner or an ex partner you had. It might be, just like, some people you really feel that deep connection with, and others, it's just like meh. But you know what I'm talking about, that emotional intensity, even if the relationship was really brief, right? And then it could be like some challenges that push you to grow and heal. And then also like feeling that sometimes you might meet someone and there's a feeling of an unfinished business with them, or some deja vu, but like really this, there's like more that's, it's unfinished, you feeling that pull. And a lot of times they can be also repeated patterns and synchronicities. So this can all be signs that you have soul contracts with someone. There are various type of soul contracts. We're not gonna dive deep into that, but generally speaking, it could be like pretty much like, when you meet someone, like they could have different because it's kind of like, think about life a little bit as a mission. Like you come here, like on the other level, on the other worldly level, everything was crafted and the plans were made. This person was going to come into your life to help you with this and that and that. It's like a mission. Like if you're watching, I don't know why I'm thinking about like Mission Impossible right now. When they're going on a mission, they make a plan. This and this person is responsible for that. This guy is responsible for like, for that security. This guy is responsible, is he's the hacker who's gonna hack into the system, and this guy is good with explosives. This guy is good with like, she's really good at like, all sorts of things. I don't know why I'm thinking about these things. But yeah, no, recently I watched the Mission Impossible movie and I was thinking about how everyone had a skill set, you know what I mean? So in a way, and then they all come to the mission and they work together as a team. Why? The goal was to actually accomplish the mission. And at the end, everyone steps in, came through, did their job, and the mission was a success. So in a way, it's kind of the same thing when we come into the lifetime, right? There are plans that are made in the other world, in the spiritual realm, and people that are supposed to come into your life to help you in whatever mission, in whatever mission in that chapter, so you can keep evolving on your path. That way your soul can reach the final mission, which is pretty much evolving into, whichever version of themselves they're trying to evolve to. And we will talk about this, dive deeper into this in subsequent episodes. But for now, let's keep it simple. So you could have like all sorts of contracts with like, all sorts of soul contracts. It could be like healing stuff, like to help you break patterns or wounds. That's why a lot of time when you like, oh, I met this person, I thought we were gonna be together forever, but then you had the worst breakup. Well, because that person had a contract, a soul contract with you, but it doesn't mean that, in our egocentric mind, we tend to be very attached to people. Like if we like them, we want them to be in our lives forever, forever, forever. But in the spiritual realm, it doesn't quite work like that. Some people come into your life for a time, for a season, for a period, to help you heal a wound, break a pattern. Even if it was a romantic relationship and things didn't work out, it doesn't mean that that person wasn't important. That person came into your life, they had a contract, and they help you because, I know even if we say, oh, well, that person was the worst relationship ever, but in a way, not really, because their purpose was to help you evolve into the next version of you. So the contract was, was kind of like, they withheld the contract. So other form of contract could be mirror contract. So like to reflect what you need to see in yourselves. In a way, I feel like so many people in the world would reflect back to us. But sometimes you meet someone who really does it in a very uncanny way that it really annoys you. So this can be like a different type of contract. We have a catalyst, like a big trigger and trigger transformation, awakening, and supportive contracts, like things like deep allies, soul family. I know I have a lot of soul families, like, some other girlies that we meet, we understand each other, we support one another, and like we're all moving towards the same goals, spreading light in the world and being like, just trying to live our best life and evolve, do the spiritual work, and also helping others. So these are all types of contracts, that all types of soul contract. Now, like I said, soul contract don't have to last forever. Okay, some are seasonal, some are temporary. The purpose is often to complete one lesson, and once that lesson has been integrated, often they go their separate ways. And let it go can also be a part of the contract, a learning to let go. So, how do we navigate soul contract consciously? Reflect. What is this person, you know, teaching me? I think that's something that I try to do all the time. I don't really, even if I'm like always like studying spirituality and stuff, I don't always like approach people and be like, this person is a soul contract. What is this contract trying to like teach me? I mean, I can be a little bit much, but still, there's a way for us to still bring consciousness into daily life and not making it so serious and so, like high stress all the time. So the way I try to live my life is whenever anyone, everything in the interaction, especially let's say like past relationship, I'm like, okay, what is this person like? What was this person trying to teach me? What was the connection trying to teach me? What was the purpose of this person into my life? Why was this person in my movie? What was I meant to learn? How was I meant to grow? I think it's a great way to approach life because that way you can really get so much more from every interaction, and that's a way to make sure that you don't fall into the victim mindset all the time. The whole like, woe be me, everyone is here out there to get me and pour me and all that stuff. Because honestly, you're not gaining anything from sliding down that rabbit hole. Okay. Another way to navigate soul contract consciously is don't force permanence. What that means is don't hold on to things too tight. Just trust the process. Trust that person, that everything has a purpose. Trust in the flow of life. Just this is where you can trust in God, whatever you want to call it, God, the universe, the energy of life, anything. It doesn't even matter what you call it or how you identify to it. It all comes down to the same thing. Trust the higher power, like or whatever, like a higher force or the universe. So we need to not hold on to dear life. Okay, that's a great way to navigate soul contracts consciously. Another way is to use discernment, especially in painful and toxic dynamics. So, you do that by going back to, what am I supposed to learn here? What is the lesson? I know it hurts. I know that's not how I wanted this to be, but what am I supposed to kind of, the point of of asking ourselves these questions is to elevate ourselves, and at the same time to really kind of help our soul stay on the soul path and not get too carried away, not get too sidetracked by body consciousness, as in not get too sidetracked by the limitation of you know of our 3D body form. So we want to kind of, the reason why we keep asking those questions is so we can keep our intention, so we can stay connected to our higher self, our higher spiritual self, and not get carried away by earthly distractions, things like pain, things like heartbreaks or victim mood, or not, so that we don't get caught up in those lowly frequencies in a way. So that's why I find that constantly asking questions kind of really help us keep that high elevation, that high frequency, and then keeps us up, keep us stay connected with our soul on a deeper level. That way we are helping our soul do the work that they came here to do, and at the same time we are helping ourselves that in the physical realm, and evolve and get better, and also it's so amazing because the more you do that, the easier it will be for you to get through hard times and challenging times in life. So I think it's an amazing practice and start training your mind. In a way, it kind of reminds me, even in therapy with like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. So it's like the goal is to really stop ourselves and notice our patterns while we're doing it. And then so we can gain control over the actions that we're doing, so we're not on autopilot. So the way it's kind of like we're trying to hijack the software while it's happening so we can choose a better outcome. That's how I see spirituality. That's how I see this constant checking in with ourselves, asking questions. Why is this happening? What is the message? What is the lesson? That way we'll constantly, we can separate ourselves from the ego, and it's a chance for us to stay in control of the situation and not let, keep that. It's a great opportunity to let our higher self step in and not let our ego just like totally mess up everything. Because when we're acting from a place of ego, we're very reactive. We're very like, we have very low frequency because often all the energies, all the emotions are like, anger, like sadness, victim mode. It's not our higher self. There's a reason why our ego is not necessarily and our higher self, they're not the same thing, and often when we are letting our ego drive, when we're letting our ego do all of the work, and then we look back and we're like, oh my God, why did I do this? Why did I overreact like that? And then we often feel like a certain sense of shame because our ego doesn't care about our growth. Okay. That's the problem with our ego. You might be thinking, yeah, but what's so bad about our ego? Our ego doesn't care about our growth. Our ego doesn't care about, us behaving from a higher consciousness. Our ego doesn't care about any of that. Just wants our ego is here to really protect us. There's nothing wrong with the ego also because it's here to protect us to survive. It's here to make sure you survive. That's one of the major goal of the ego. For example, when you hurt, your ego wants to erase the pain ASAP. That's often why we know we tend to like fall into things like things that very what's the word I'm looking for? That's how we can fall into, very toxic behaviors like becoming an alcoholic, over drinking, having anger issues, using drugs, all of those addictive, behaviors, these are all ego driven. And then it's because our ego is just literally trying to remove the pain. So this is the problem with the ego. It can be very destructive if we're not making sure we're keeping a tab on it. Okay. So this is why we're always asking questions so we can kind of be more connected with our higher consciousness and our higher self. That way, at the same time, this is also a great way to navigate the soul contracts that come into our life because the main purpose of the soul contract is to help us evolve into the next version of ourselves. So that's actually how I want to talk about this. So contracts aren't always easy. It doesn't mean that, oh my God, this is gonna be your romantic partner forever. They're not always romantic. They can just be like platonic relationship too, friends. It could be any sort of relationship. Could be your parents, could be your family, could be anything. Could be your ex-husband, your ex-wife. It could be anything. Your future husband, your future wife. It could be like any type of relationship, right? So they aren't. I would say often they're not easy because their purpose is to push you. So by default, they're not gonna be easy. Their purpose is to get you out of your comfort zone. But I would say that they are sacred. Every time I'm thinking about people that I know for sure are like soul contracts in my life, I'm just in awe. But a lot of those relationships are not easy, you know. But like I said, they are very, very sacred. So even the hard connections have meaning. Everything have meaning. Nothing is random. And then you just remember that you always have the power to move through them with wisdom. So I don't want you to be like, oh well, just like totally feel despair and that you have no control about anything, because you always have the power to move through all of these contracts, all of your relationship through wisdom, compassion, and choosing how you behave when the times get hard. Okay. So, on that note, I really hope you found this video really helpful. I would love to keep diving into this topic. I find them absolutely fascinating. And I spend a lot of time studying spirituality, and even in my work, I'm always finding more way to dive deeper into this. On that note, if you want to connect with yourself deeper, you could totally book a reading with me. Our readings are so magical. We start by reading your energy, your whole energy chakras, your energy centers, and we get so much information just from that alone. And then after that, we get a lot of downloads from your spirit guide, your higher self, and we can even explore soul contracts and soul connections in the sessions also. And we go in the Akashic Records, which is literally the spiritual realm where we connect with your soul on a deep level and we get so much insight. All this to say, I absolutely love, 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 love holding these sessions with you. And on that note, my love, I'll leave all the comments, I mean, all the links down below. And I will see you in the next one. Just don't forget you a diamond and keep shining bright, my love. I'll see you in the next one. Mwah.